Welcome back to Screenfish Radio. I am so glad you could join us. The bows have been decked with holly, and the reindeer have gone through their pre-flight checks, and they are ready to go because it is the holiday season. And I am so excited to have two of my favorite people, Heather Johnson and Chris Utley, joining us to talk about our Christmas movie of the year. Welcome to you both.
Hey.
You said Christmas movie of the year. That means you were already wanting the flavor, weren't you?
No, I mean
Merry
it's the movie
Christmas,
we
happy
selected
holidays,
for our
whatever you
holiday,
celebrate.
but it is the
So,
Christmas movie of the year. No,
no, I missed the
no.
podcast you did for the real Christmas movie of the year. That
Which
would
is
be
what?
Wicked. Thank you very much. Wicked for
Uh,
the win.
Wicked was great, but tonight we are talking about a holiday spectacular, which has given real feelings to every member of this troupe tonight. We are talking about Red One. Red One tells the story of Jack O'Malley, a hacker who is drawn into the world of mythological beings when Santa Claus is stolen or kidnapped from the North Pole. Jack is forced to join forces with Callum Drift, a leading member of the Special Forces team for Kris Kringle, as the two work together to bring down an evil supervillain who has designs of exacting her revenge upon those on the naughty list. As always, this podcast is rated S for spoilers, but 'tis the season, and I would love to know what you both thought of Red One.
Well, it was funny because you had asked if I wanted to be a part of this podcast, and you know how infrequent I see movies these days and actually get to watch things as long as it's streaming and I can start them at 10 o'clock at night. But my parents had actually were telling me about this movie that they watched that they thought was adorable and that it was called Red One. And I was like, I actually have to watch that and do a podcast on it with everybody. So it was already kind of in my purview to check it out. I have mixed feelings on it that I know we'll get into. I mean, don't get me wrong, love me some Captain America playing in some different roles is always fun. But yeah, I was all in for the first half of it. And then it kind of just shifted and took a turn that I wasn't really expecting, and I had a hard time getting back into it until the very end.
Okay. All right, that's fair. That's fair. That's a very I appreciate the fairness of that review, Heather. I do. Uh, because I know that Chris has feelings, so I'd like to hear them.
My 11-year-old son Joshua, I asked what he thought. He was like, it was so funny. The audiences in the theater really didn't like it because somebody was snoring during the movie. I said, Joshua, that snorer was me.
You
I have
slept through it,
never
so you
fallen
don't even know if
asleep.
it's good. You missed half of it.
I've missed about 5 minutes of it in two separate sections because I was bored out of my mind. I was not enthralled. I was not entertained. I just looked at the screen and I just said, wow,
I'm gonna
this
take a
is
nap.
what we're doing. No, it's like my body just decided to shut down and it punted. And it was like, okay, we're not doing this. Nope, 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 nope. And so I drifted off. I caught myself, and I drifted off again. I caught myself. I'm like, wow, it's like that. It was for a Christmas movie, just supposed to have all the wonder, the tidings of comfort and joy, and all the things. There was none of that. There was none of it. There was no follow lot. It was all the stuff. And, they had Krampus in there, and that was cute. And the subplot that Krampus is Chris Kringle's brother and all that. But, and the snowman and fight and all the different things. But where was the life? Where was the Christmas joy? It's just The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, just being himself. Now he is a character of a character now. He walks into every situation. I'm Dwayne Johnson. Watch me act. And then he goes, which is different than what he does in Jumanji and other stuff, which, you can tell he's cut loose and enjoying the role, but and it's like they put Chris Evans in because they needed a name. I'll get into the dynamics of that later, but oh my God, that was the most boring, lifeless Christmas movie, or one of them I've ever seen. There was just nothing. And there's a reason, and I have a theory about why. And we'll get into that later.
See, I disagree with the whole thing about The Rock. I will agree that he lets loose more in Jumanji. But as I was watching it, what I was thinking of is that he, in a movie like this movie is not an action movie, it's a comedy. And I thought it was actually on that level, it worked. I actually thought, really, if they'd had Kevin Hart there instead of Chris Evans, it probably would have worked better with the two of them. I thought they have, because those two have chemistry for days. But I didn't
I mean, it would have been that whole lot fun. Bam, like I'm not the list. I'm stealing stuff. Bam, I'm doing my thing. You got me here in Santa in the North Pole. What the heck is going on? What's going on, Callum? The whole Kevin Hart rather thing would have at least prevented me from falling asleep because
okay.
his life is energy and he's pumped and he's like human adrenaline in a pint size, elf size body. So
But see, one of the things I was thinking of too, because I know when you saw it in theaters, you shared your opinion with our group chat just how much you hated it. And one of the things, but I realized that I think the dividing line for me is that I saw it on streaming. Like this was a film that I saw, I didn't pay $100 to see after I bought tickets for me and my family and I paid for all my popcorn. And I think if I'd seen it on
and
the
you got to
screen,
pause and go and take bathroom breaks. Or
yeah, but
one
I
of the
think that
boys
worked for a
wanted
title
extra
like
popcorn.
this. I
I'm
think
saying,
that
but
worked.
that's your point that it was best served to go on streaming rather than waste my AMC Stubs weekly membership voucher on that.
Yes. That's exactly my
Oh,
point.
okay.
And I'm not even saying that as a criticism. I'm saying that this is not top tier anybody, to be honest, but it is, I think it's really underrated. Like I thought it was fun, but I also didn't have the burden of having shelled out all the money. Like I popped it in on Amazon Prime and I just thought, well, let's see how this goes. And it was a fun ride. Um, I don't think it achieved all the things they wanted to achieve, but I actually really liked it. And I do think, and this, I want to get to this, I think it had plenty of Christmas cheer. Like I don't think it was nearly as flat as you're saying that it was.
They had all the Chris, like I said, all the stuff was there. Santa's there, Mrs. Claus is there, the elves are there. All the things and all the tropes that you would want to see are there, including the subplot that the reindeer are all girls and they think he's hot. But
But the reindeer, let's just pause a minute for the
okay,
reindeer because Christmas reindeer is literally like one of my favorite elements of Christmas or deer, like that's what is on my mantle. They were
It's on your
so
shirt right
beautiful
now. It's
and on
on
my shirt. They were so beautifully designed, like with the antlers, they were glowing, they were just their shape. I was just if I had to pick my favorite part of the movie, it was the design of the reindeer. So just pause for a moment. They were beautiful. They were gorgeous.
I thought the set design in general was well done. Like I think like the Headless Horseman looked good.
Yeah.
The snowman battle looked good. I thought they did a good job
I
on.
mean, I'm with you there. I mean, aesthetically, it's
It was
all
pretty.
the money's on the screen. However much they spent, 150 million bucks to make it look like a Christmas movie, they did all that. But where's the heart? Where's the life? Where's the
Well,
spirit?
okay, in that mindset, then here's the question: is what in your mind makes a Christmas movie? Because a Christmas movie could be It's a Wonderful Life, but we also have these arguments going on about films like Gremlins and Die Hard, whether or not they're Christmas movies. And I would like to know what defines a Christmas movie to you both. What is it you're looking for?
I
You
think
got
the
that?
main thing I look for in a Christmas movie is a shift of heart. It can be up against the backdrop. It could be like snow. It could be, Santa oriented, not Santa oriented. But when I think about Christmas movies, I think about that shift of somebody's heart where they're going from like bitterness to hope again. And I know that you can get that in any movie, but I think that's the piece, if it's something that's set against the backdrop of Christmas, it has to have that element for me, which I felt like this movie had. You see it, you see the shift of heart going from like bitterness and resentment into hope, along this very random, weird journey at times. And I think that's where I got caught up. And I'm like, who's on first? Like, what's really going on here? Are we going down this road? Is it Santa? Is it Krampus? Is it the witch? Like, where's all this coming together? How's this going to come together? But along that journey, seeing the shift that you see it in every Hallmark movie out there. There's always a shift of heart. There's always I was going to go this way. I said that for you, Steve, specifically. I was going to go have this
And I
big time
appreciate it.
career. Oh no, I fell back in love with my high school boyfriend who is now a single dad of twins. You see the you see the shift of where they're going from something very worldly or being disappointed, especially in people, to that hope element, which is what, Christmas, we think about the themes of Advent, of hope, peace, joy, and love. You start to see you don't have to have like necessarily an overwhelming amount of all those things, but they all come together to see like a heartfelt shift for me for a Christmas movie. And reindeer. I have to have reindeer.
As long as there's reindeer, you're
As long
okay.
as there's reindeer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go a little left, which is what I do around here. Um, Quintessential Christmas watch every single year is Charlie Brown Christmas. There you go. It's not a movie, but every year I literally made myself go to my Apple Plus account to make sure that I could watch that a few weeks ago because that was absolute go. But my other ones, in terms of Christmas movies that I love personally, and much respect to It's a Wonderful Life, that movie is everything they say that it is. But for Chris and my left of center self, it is Die Hard, Love Actually, and The Best Man Holiday. Best Man Holiday is a long-awaited sequel to a unheralded African American cinema comedy classic about college friends who come together because the couple in the group gets married, and right around the same time, the best man writes a book, and indiscretions and secrets which threaten the whole wedding, as it turns out, get revealed. We all love that movie. We all were like, are they going to do another one? And they did do another one in 2013, in which they all gathered for Christmas. And there's estrangements and there's other stuff going on, but there's a tragic incident in which the perfect couple who got married in the first film, the wife is hiding the fact that she has cancer, and she eventually dies in the film. And so
And that's a
that's where
quintessential Christmas movie for you because why?
I'm getting
Yeah.
ready to get there. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay.
I
So
like
like
that he
death.
put that
Yes,
in the
death.
same I like that he put that in the same package as Die Hard. Like this and Die Hard are
And Love
very Christmas
Actually
films.
are quintessential Christmas movies
Do
because
love
they
that.
deal with all of the hard stuff, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes it's not the reindeer. Sometimes it's not the snowflakes falling. It's in the middle of this Christmas season, in the middle of such a harsh backdrop of your best friend who's dying, or your wife who's watching you shop at some Tony British out department store only to find out that you bought jewelry for your mistress, or the absurdity of you being on a set of a film in which you're pantomiming sexual situations for in some film, and then you fall in love in that bit of absurdity, and Colin Firth falling in love with the lady who can't speak his language, but he just looks at her and he adores the ground that she walks on, and all those different facets and elements of love. Not to mention Bruce Willis, of course, having to rescue, try to save his estranged wife from a bunch of terrorists, and let us know, let us know, let us know. As goofy, maybe left of center Christmas tropes, but they have heart that I relate to. I watch The Best Man Holiday. I mean, they're black people my age and living real life and going through real things. And sometimes Christmases are hard. Christmases can be hard,
Yeah.
but there's heart there. I'm fighting with my wife. She convinces me to come to LA, and there just so happens to be some terrorists taking over the building, and I don't have shoes on, but I have to do my job as a police officer. That's hard. All the different stories of how love is all around, and it's not just romantic love, it's love for a sister who loves her brother who is mentally unsound and unable to function in reality. It's love, that first love between a young boy who's looking at the most beautiful girl in school and learns to play the drums because he wants to, impress her, and that he's doing that for her in the midst of losing his mom. That's hard. What could I connect to in Red One, which had a semblance of heart? The closest thing you get was Chris Evans' kid, and that whole thing of the mom trying to tell Chris Evans' character, you need to go function at his. You need to be don't just talk about whatever. You need to show up and be there for him. It's like that was a tiny sliver of that, but they treated that as a subplot. But then the whole main plot is supposed to be Dwayne Johnson and his retiring from being Santa's plus one bodyguard because you just didn't see the heart, the spirit of it, and da 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 da. Where was his heart moment? It wasn't there. Or if you guys might have been able to find it. I couldn't.
I think his heart moment was at the very end when they're in the sleighs. When they're in the sleigh and he looks back and he sees the difference in Jack as he's reconnecting with his son. That was this whole thing, is that adults have lost any joy or hope in the Christmas season. That was his whole thing. I think that was a big moment.
So maybe he was trying to mirror him then, because everything I watched from that movie right until that cliched ending that y'all just talked about was him being just as cynical as the adults who are like, there's no heart, there's no passion. So go ahead, Heather.
Yeah, no, what I was thinking along those lines is, for me, Jack and his son, I think it makes sense. To me, that was a subplot. I wasn't invested in their story for whatever reason. Maybe it wasn't convincing.
That's the cardinal role of a Christmas movie. In every other Christmas movie, Jack would be the plot.
See, I liked it though that Cal was the plot. See, for me, Cal was the plot. It was his journey, and Jack was just along. Jack was like a conduit. Jack's journey was secondary to Cal's. To me, Cal is the main character. The Rock's character is the main character. It's his journey that is the central point of the film, is the way that I have viewed it, because you see the shift, the snow globe moment where Jack and his son are talking, and he's like, I promise I'm going to be better. And then the snow globe shatters. That was a cool moment, but it didn't hit me near it does when Cal looks over and sees Jack as a little boy. Like, to me, that was where I talk about earlier, what makes a Christmas movie for me. A Christmas movie is a shift. a visible shift. You know, this was Cal's story all along. Chris Evans was not the main character for me. I mean, like I said earlier, I love seeing him in a movie and just kind of being this like, kind of scumbag kind of guy who just is really lost, but redeems himself as he goes, of course. But yeah, Cal was always the main character for me. So it was his shift that I was paying attention to, not Jack's.
And I actually I would agree with that. But I mean I was invested in his relationship with his son, especially when they're in the snow globes. Like I think there was a legitimate conversation going on
Yeah.
there. And he has these moments where he realizes what a crappy dad he's been along the way. Again, I'm not saying this is peak cinema. Like I'm not saying this is the best Christmas
It's
movie
not
ever
up
made.
here Christmas movie,
I'm just
but
saying it's
give
not
me
the
a
trash
Christmas.
everybody points
Yeah.
to it as, right? Like I'm not, but I would watch it again because I had fun on the ride. And it, to me, a Christmas movie, like I said, I like what you said there about the shift. Actually, both of you together. I mean, shift and heart. I would throw in a bit of wonder. Um, I actually thought there was less of that in this film than the other two things. I thought there was more heart and more of a shift than there was like the magic of Christmas. I didn't get it wasn't that type of movie. I actually feel like this was closer to Die Hard than anything else. And actually I thought it was more of a Christmas movie than Die Hard because I feel like we're in this trend right now of trying to get movies that are set at Christmas but have nothing to do with Christmas and make them Christmas movies. And so it can be like I'm not. This isn't a podcast on Die Hard, but like this was a
I
movie that
could
was
turn it
trying
into
to.
one.
Was that?
I could turn it into one.
I'm
Just
sure
playing.
we could. I'm sure we could. All my point is though is that this was trying to get into those corners and meet that clientele that doesn't just want to see Miracle on 34th Street, the third remake. Like it wants they're trying to this felt like a Jumanji-esque type of Christmas film. Uh,
And you bring me to the point that I have been trying to make, and that I hyped this up in our chat. Now I get to bring it out. That last thing that you said about they didn't just want to make Miracle on 34th Street remake number 17, but in a way they did. Not that it's the same movie, but I don't think they made a movie. I think they made a concept. Here is where I'm coming from. A lot of what we're seeing in cinema nowadays that everybody hates on is concepts and packages. Take a star or take a director or take one of those CEOs with an MBA. He goes into his boardroom and say, I want to make a Christmas movie. And so let's package and concept this together. Who can we get to do this? Bam. Let's get The Rock. He's hot. He needs a good co-star. Let me think. Let me think. Chris Evans. The Rock. Captain America. Together. What plot can we give them? Santa Claus is kidnapped. The Rock has to recruit Chris Evans to go rescue Santa Claus. Great. That's freaking awesome. Now, go write the script. And it's manufactured, paint by numbers, no heart, no spirit, just slick boardroom concept. And when I look at Red One, that is 100% of what I saw. And to me, that whole concept package thing is why 21st century cinema, at least the blockbuster mainstream kind, that's why it's getting such a bad rap, because they're making movies in boardrooms. As soon as the MGM logo, the Amazon MGM logo finished roaring, and you're into the scene and you're watching everything, I can smell that concept from 1,500 yards away, and I'm just sitting there like, wow. this is really what they did, huh? And you can just see the gloss. You can see the artificiality. You can see that that script was written to make sure that you touch all the points, you hit all the beats, you include all the Christmas tropes. Let's include the snowman. Let's include the elves. Let's include Krampus. Let's give an off the beaten path villain in the witch who, wants to get rid of all the what is it, the naughty list or the kids on the naughty that she's trying to get rid of, or I didn't quite remember, but whatever her motivation is, it's all part of the package. And when you reduce Christmas time to another hot package, you lose the heart to why we watch Charlie Brown Christmas every year, why we watch Frosty the Snowman, why we watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in their 50-year-old titles now. Because your heart's in there with Frosty and those little kids. Your heart is in there with Rudolph. How can you have heart when you are trying to create something that's straight up, straight down a package? Something that you gloss off in the 8-9 story boardroom executive suite of Amazon MGM Studios. That's the problem with cinema, and that's the problem with Red One for me.
Okay. And I actually see what you're saying there. I can actually, if that's how you feel about it, I can see what you're saying. But I think there's more heart than you're giving it. I think that they've put it in a package, and I think that they've tried to assemble a certain type of thing. But I had a lot more fun than you did. Again, I'm not claiming it's a Christmas classic, but I'd watch it again. Last year, I watched the Eddie Murphy one, went straight to streaming. There were moments I thought were genuinely funny, but it's atrocious. I will not go back to it.
It's also the exact same studio. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, and I'm saying this is better. I think this is a better. This one hit the markers more for me, because I felt like it had more heart to deal with. I don't want to say it made more sense because I'm not. Because it doesn't really make sense. This movie doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense at all.
It doesn't make sense. But I will say that I felt like there was some legitimate character movement in this that I think took it a little bit beyond just cold Hollywood cookie cutter. Even
See,
though,
oh, go ahead.
no, finish, go.
Well, see, and this is where I think I start to, from that package cookie cutter kind of concept. For me, if they had toned down the language a little bit and made it just slightly a little less, I don't know, it had moments where I just felt like kind of, if it were like a PG, I would have been all over this movie. Like the fun would have been there, the heart wouldn't have to be but so deep. It's something more I could hang out with my kids, and my kids could handle some language and some, kind of scary thematic elements. But it felt like it didn't know where it belonged, who the audience was. And, I went into it at the beginning with Santa getting kidnapped. I think, oh, this is going to be more like, the Santa Claus in the sense of the level of fun, where the direction, the story. And then all of a sudden I've got Krampus as an adopted brother. I've got a witch. I've got creepy snowmen that yeah. You just take off their nose and they melt away. I was like, what the heck is this?
I like that. I thought that was great.
You thought you would. But if it had been toned down a little bit more, I think it would have been more Christmassy for me. Like it to me, it was just like, who was it trying? They didn't know who they were appealing to, is kind of the way I feel is where it fell flat, is like, are they trying to appeal to the kids, to the parents, to random people who are just streaming looking for something to do?
Which is what they do in the whole package concept. You've heard me talk about 4-quadrant before, right?
Yeah.
Yep. For those who don't know, 4-quadrant is when they're in the boardroom and they're packaging these things, they're trying to hit a 4-quadrant market. They're trying to hit the young people. They're trying to hit the people 18 to 30. They want to hit the people 18 to 30, like 30 and up. And the last one, I think, is women, if I'm not mistaken. I may be getting the quadrant pieces wrong, but they're trying to hit those four marks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so when
they're
they
just trying
impact
to
it,
appeal to too many
yeah.
people.
And
And
so
you
if
know
we can
what?
give the
Oh,
kids, then we can give the kid, yeah, let's give the kids something. Let's give the ladies the beefcake because it's The Rock and it's Chris Evans, Captain America, and let's give them a buff. J.K. Simmons is Santa Claus, and then let's include all the different things. And awesome concept. We'll make money. We'll win. And then here comes Wicked Moana Gladiator 2 saying, "Nah, son, this is how it's done. Sit down." So,
see, you know what? And I'll give you that. I think that the greatest flaw of this film is that it's trying to be like, again, I think that there's this wave right now of trying to find cool Christmas movies. Like you have to find the cool, right? You know, people arguing Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, right? It's like, oh, so you got to watch that every like no people that are looking for cool at Christmas. And I think this one, had The Rock been willing to go a little more Tooth Fairy, as opposed
I
to
agree. Good
down,
analogy.
then I think we'd probably be on the same page. And I think that the script, if it had gone a little more that way, there would have been a lot more positive reaction to it. But it feels like it's trying to target 13 to 15-year-olds. And quite frankly, I don't know what a 15-year-old is looking for in a Christmas movie. Like,
Hmm.
I think if Elf embraced being a children's movie with that bit of whimsy. This one, that's why I say like this one was short on the wonder, but I felt like it hit the other markers. I felt like it hit the thing or hit the transformation. It hit a change. There were the other aspects of the holiday that I thought it really did well. Like I had a lot of fun watching this movie. But I feel like that was the thing it was missing. Is that it didn't lean far enough. I see what you're saying, Heather, about the language. The language didn't bother me, but I think it should have been more playful. Um,
Yeah, it's like they were trying to be too serious in it. And I'm
yeah.
like, if it's just if it and it's not and not so much as like language in and of itself, because I think there's a time and place for how we communicate, and especially in film and different situations. But it just kind of felt like they were putting it in there to put it in there to kind of be like, look at us, we're being a little,
Edgy.
risky here. We're being edgy. That's the word I was looking for. We're being edgy. We're gonna appeal to like, upper teenagers or whatnot. Where I was just like, well, that was just totally pointless. And for me, I'm like, it wasn't funny. It wasn't necessary to the moment. It just felt like they were just sprinkling it in here to be like, hey, look at us, we're cool. Instead of to your point, just lean a little further into the goofiness. And, it would be something I'd be more inclined to, let my 9-year-old watch. But right now I'm like, not even from a language standpoint. I'm just like, I think it's that wonder. It's like it's gonna be more confusing than it would be joyful.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I can see that. I did think it was interesting the conversation they had about the naughty list. Like we don't get in Christmas movies we don't usually get a lot of focus on, even in these old movies, on people fear about the nice or the naughty list. And I thought I thought it was an interesting concept to have the villain, that was their motivation, right? Like I'm gonna exact revenge for people
I'm
who
gonna punish those who need punishment.
that's it, punish those who need punishment. I thought that was creative. I liked that. I enjoyed that aspect of it. Um, But I mean, with that in mind, I would let's I know we've said what we think about the film, but pushing a little further, what did you think about that concept for a storyline? Did it work? What do you think about the film's conversation about being good, what it means to be good in a story like this? What did you think of that?
I have no thoughts on that whatsoever. Honestly, I didn't even get into, I mean, is a motivating factor. I mean, if you're trying to connect that to Santa Claus is coming to town, if you've been God are good, so be good for goodness sake, because you won't get presents, and an evil witch is going to ruin your Christmas. So there's some extra fearful, motivating factor activity going on right there, if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, whatever they were selling, I just wasn't buying, and I'll leave it at that.
And this may be one of those times where I'm pushing the conversation too far.
Oh
Uh,
no, I'm tracking with this. I am biting at the bit to say what I want to say about that conversation, about how especially with how the view of the villain as the one who wants to punish the ones that need to be punished is that so often, and I'm gonna call out mainstream Christianity in this. We think we're doing the right thing by just wanting to call out the wrong and to do the punishing and the judging and the condemnation instead of where are we seeing the image of God in people? Where are we seeing the goodness? Where we get so focused on the blemish that we forget the creation and how beautiful it is. And our villain was so focused on the negative, on what made them naughty, on wanting them to get what they deserved. They didn't see the people anymore. They weren't, she wasn't seeing the individual. She wasn't seeing the potential for goodness anymore. And that kind of contrasts with Cal not seeing the goodness anymore, but not from a place of anger, but from a place of like bitterness, from a place of I'm just disappointed in people as I've watched them. He's watched these people grow as they, being around when they were little kids and then watching them become adults. And it's just disappointing. So, whereas, and I feel like this happens in mainstream Christianity, where we forget to see the goodness of a created being. And we get so caught up in wanting to point out what's wrong with somebody or what they're doing wrong or where they're going to go because of their behavior. You should be punished for all of this. Not that we don't deal with consequences, but that becomes the central focus instead of like when Cal shifts, the central focus then becomes the innocence and the goodness within. And where we see that goodness and having things stem out, people love to say, well, I'm telling you the truth in love. You can't tell me the truth in love if you don't have a relationship with me and don't know me and love me. And I think what we see with Cal is we start to see that love again come out. And this may be a stretch, but this is how I process things too, is sometimes I find the things, and Chris will say this, I'll find something good that I can bring out of it.
You
Um,
took the words right out of my mouth. As
here
soon as you went there, I'm like, here it comes.
it
Here
comes.
comes the other.
But yeah, it's interesting that we'll put it on it. We'll applaud ourselves for calling out what's wrong in somebody there. But in this film, it was the villain. So who's the real villain is part of this too, is, when we look at this movie and we look at ourselves and how we're treating other people. Um, you know, I'd say the villain is correct in the sense of who we've identified as the villain. But we don't want to look at ourselves as the villain when we do it. We want to look at ourselves as like the saviors. And I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be. I think we're supposed to look at see ourselves as the bridge between where people are in their lives and where God wants them to be, and to recapture that goodness.
what I'm hearing is that Heather is the villain. And
I'm the
that's,
villain.
you said you have to see it in yourself. No.
Wow.
Um, no, see, this is why it earns points for me as a Christmas movie, to be honest. Because of that conversation. I actually really appreciate the conversations that go on about opportunity and decisions and making choices in this film. Like
Yeah.
the fact that it's absolute nonsense that Chris Evans, Jack and his son, suddenly burst out of the snow
The
globes
globes.
once they've had a conversation. I think that's absolutely absurd. But there's something to be said there about recognizing that we make choices every moment And I love the idea of being a level 4 naughty. I just thought that was so funny. Like that's intense. Um, but I just thought I really appreciate the recognition, like you said, Heather, about looking inside ourselves and making better decisions. Like that to me is a very Christmas message, or at least at the very fact, maybe not looking inside of ourselves, because I don't think that Christmas is about us, but the idea that this is a season of change, and it can be a season of change for who we are. And I think that's a very Christmas message, and I think that comes out of this very well, personally.
I can track with that. I really think it did. I think it really came down to if they had just kind of leaned into who knew their audience instead of trying to be all things. Like I feel like that's just where it just went mid for me. And I was all in the first part of that movie. And then it just kind of turned for me and I'm like, why are we slapping each other in the face now? Like I get why a 15-year-old kid would find that funny, but I did not. I thought it was just kind of like, really, this is where we're this
That's part of the Krampus legend. That's why.
okay. See that too. And
Do,
but no,
do you
as
guys
far as
not
your
do
point,
that in the US?
do what?
Slap each other in the face at Christmas.
Y'all are too nice for that, Steve. Don't make me don't pretend that
We
Canadians
wear
do
really
that.
soft gloves.
Hello, kitty. My cat just came in. No, but your question about like the villain being the one who wants to punish the ones on the naughty list is, I mean, it's a good question because typically you'd think of your villain as the one who's going after those on the nice list. But instead, the villain's trying to bring justice and retribution and making sure people have their consequences. And the way she goes about it definitely to me speaks villain. So maybe we should watch out for the villain in ourselves when that's how we're approaching life instead of looking at somebody and seeing where they're made in the image of God and starting there at the core.
But see, that's what makes this a Christmas movie to me. I know I said that before, but this is a movie that's an invitation. I mean, I'm not, this is not high cinema, but the message of this movie is everybody matters. You got to give, and everybody can turn it around.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that. That's Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life. That's it there. It's the same sort of idea. Um, but the execution is
Leave something
questionable.
to be desired.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Well, let's say the least. With that being said, we should screen it or skip it. Red one, screen it or skip it.
Skip it. There's plenty of other better Christmas movies that you can spend time watching with your family. So
This is the
I
hardest
don't.
part for me.
Yeah.
The screen it or skip it because I feel like there's value in most things. But I'm probably gonna have to say skip it. I'm not gonna watch it again.
I mean, you can have it playing at. I mean, if it's on when the kids are done tearing up the Christmas
Put it in.
packages.
It's a background Christmas movie.
Exactly. It can run on the
Instead of
TV
the
while you've
fireplace
got the
channel. It's
food
like,
and the
It's not the
you know,
fireplace.
instead of the Yule log, that it'll give them something to do, and then they'll be bored in 30 minutes, and then they'll be playing with their new Nintendo Switch game or something, but it'll still run.
In the
And two
background.
hours later, your dinner will be almost done, and dad will want to cut to the football game, and yeah.
see,
Steve, I think we know what you're gonna say.
okay, what am I gonna say?
You're gonna say screen it.
See, screen it. Absolutely screen it.
I'm not gonna say absolutely. I'm gonna say this. If it's still in theaters, I would not pay for this.
Fair.
It's on Prime this weekend, so the theatrical run pretty much is done.
Okay.
I mean, between because at the same time, Mufasa, The Lion King, and Sonic 3 just hit theaters. So yeah, there's no room at the end because Moana 2 and who I wasn't even trying to make that point, but
That was fantastic.
but
Based
yeah,
on
between
based on that analogy, if there's no room at the end, then you think that this film is good enough to be the Messiah. Is that what I'm hearing? Is this
I stepped right on in it, didn't I?
You did. I would have been disappointed if Steve hadn't have pulled that.
Bang, bang, bang.
I
Well, I'm overmatched being here with two preachers. So yeah, y'all Bible scholarly people. I'm gonna mute myself and turn off my mic and shut up.
I'm
I
just gonna
can't
say
win.
though, I have no objection to saying stream it. I have no objection to it, but it's not good. Like I'm not saying it's
It's
like
not Charlie Brown.
it's not a Christmas classic. I do think it's better than other
It's
ones that
not the
come out
Fat
on
Albert
TV.
Halloween special or Christmas special.
Pardon?
It's not the Fat Albert Christmas special. Shout out to my brothers and sisters who love Fat Albert Christmas special. I watched that over Red One.
I'm not saying it's a timeless classic. I'm saying I enjoyed it enough that if you're looking for an offbeat Christmas movie, this is one I could say, sure. But it's like,
Log into Amazon Prime and just go for it.
hey, I mean,
I mean,
I
it's The Rock doing The Rock things. So,
yeah,
like
that's
I
what it
said,
is.
that just let it run while you are shucking your green peas and dropping corn in the pot and
I'm not
checking
sugge-
on your
yeah,
lemon meringue pie.
I'm not suggesting it's the must-see film of the year. I'm saying you can watch it, and now it's available on Amazon Prime, so for free if you pay for Prime. So
For free.
what do you got to lose? That's like the lowest bar for stream it I've ever said. What have you got
What do you
to
have to
lose?
lose?
That's like a step above skip it, but I can't say skip it. I liked it. I had fun. I was
You
in.
should add stream it to your categories.
I've said
Screen,
stream it before. You can stream it.
like
But you
screen it,
guys have just
stream it,
said
skip
you
it.
guys want to be done with it. You guys want to run screaming into the night. You want to watch a Fat Albert Christmas. So,
Hey.
on that note, thank you both for being on here. As always, you can follow us on subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow us now on TikTok and of course Instagram. If you go to the website, if you go to screenfish.net, you can follow us and get the latest in reviews as they are, and follow us wherever podcast find us wherever podcasts are available as well. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Chris. You know I love chatting with you both. And for you at home, we started the conversation. This was Screenfish. Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year.